The elves of Middle-earth no longer stand idle in the face of evil and have gathered their finest in the Elven Council preconstructed commander deck. Valiant and fair elf noble Galadriel, Elven Queen, commands the deck, and ooh, that is too much text. Well, she's a 2 blue-green 4/5 creature. That's easy enough. And the long and short of the rest of that text is a vote every combat on your turn if an elf entered the battlefield on your turn. The results being a drawn card or the ring tempting you, followed by your ring bearer gaining a +1/+1 counter. You're looking at 2 good options at the beginning of combat when Galadriel is on the battlefield, but it all hinges on playing elves in your first main phase. Unlike other elven tribal decks, this iteration relies more on the guile and wisdom of its elves and their pilot rather than sheer numbers. But for now, we're going to forget about all of that and step fully into the madness inherent in Simic by adding the X blue and green jellyfish hydra beast creature Hydroid Crassus. For whatever you cast as X, you will gain half that amount in life, half that amount in drawn cards, and the full amount in power and toughness. Did I mention the creature is a trampling flyer? This is a great late game option because it puts a timer on the game for your opponents, and if they are able to remove it, your hand is restocked full of cards thanks to the casting trigger. That casting trigger is worth reiterating because even if the spell is countered, the life gain and cards drawn will still resolve. The next addition is the 79-cent Curse of the Swine. It is a noble thing to play a game of Commander while managing your elven democracy, but a board full of dragons won't be standing in line to vote when they can reduce you to ashes instead. For 2 blue and X mana, you can exile X amount of target creatures. They will be replaced with 2/2 green boar creature tokens, who also won't be standing in line to vote, but are nowhere close to the extinction level threat those dragons posed moments ago. For instant spells, the addition will be Spelljack. This is a Hail Mary of a spell that costs $1.49 in United States currency and 3 and 3 blue in Magic the Gathering mana. Firstly, this counters a target spell, but rather than that spell going to the graveyard, it will be exiled. The best part is that you can now play that spell as if it were in your hand for 0 mana. Maybe someone was trying to flip the voting script on you with Expropriate, or a Rakdos player was trying to finish you off by making you their captive audience. You get to nope that person and repurpose one of their best spells towards your own ends. Next up entering the fold is the artifact Lifecrafter's Bestiary. For 3 colorless mana, you will be able to scry 1 at the beginning of your upkeep. For the newer players, the upkeep phase is before you draw for turn, so you'll be able to make an informed decision on whether you want to draw that card or put it at the bottom of your library. Additionally, you can pay 1 green mana whenever you cast a creature spell to draw a card. Card advantage is important in Magic, and this will serve as a cheap way to keep those cards coming. Wizard class is the enchantment that is added to the list. This spell starts off at 1 blue mana and offers the immediate upside of not having a hand size limit. This is not a mechanic found in the deck and comes in handy, especially with blue decks that tend to be drawing cards quite often. And speaking of drawn cards, the second step costs 2 and a blue to draw 2 cards. This is a nice exchange available to you whenever you could cast a sorcery. The final level is 4 and a blue, giving you a constant stream of +1/+1 counters as you draw cards throughout the rest of the game. I like this enchantment because it largely flies under the radar, but soon enough your creatures will be fearsome and payoffs from Haldir Lorien Lieutenant and Arwen Weaver of Hope will be major problems. Wizard class is $2.49. Let's wrap up the additions with the land of choice, Hall of Storm Giants, worth $2.99. It taps for 1 blue mana and comes into play tapped unless it's your first or second land played. The upside is a 7/7 Ward 3 giant creature that it turns into for 5 and a blue. Whether it's surprising your opponent with a huge blocker or being able to swing in with this massive creature, you'll be able to get up to some fun shenanigans. Now we can't add 6 cards in without taking 6 cards out, so in reverse order, starting with lands, we are removing a basic island. Nice, 1 down. For enchantments, it's going to be the 1 and a green Lignify. The upside is clear, as it has the ability to stop an opposing player's game plan in its tracks when cast onto the proper creature. Too often, there won't be that single target, and if there is, that player is probably packing some enchantment removal for exactly this occasion. Besides, when Kenrith's transformation exists for only $2 and does essentially the same thing while drawing you a card, you're better served going in that direction. Even though Galadriel is the commander of the deck, her mirror is the artifact getting cut. This is a 2-mana artifact that can tap for 5 to scry 1 and then draw a card, though that 5 mana gets reduced by 1 for every legendary creature you control. 10 of the 26 creatures are legendary in this deck, so it's going to be pretty unreliable to get value tapping this artifact. In decks full of legendary creatures, this can function as a free scry 1 draw 1 every turn, which is exciting and much more powerful than with the Elven Council. The instant spell Learn from the Past is the next to go. I appreciate how it can interrupt a reanimation deck strategy by putting priority targets in the graveyard back into the library, or mess with some top of the library tutoring shenanigans an opponent is up to. But for 3 and a blue, I would like the flexibility of it being useful targeting my graveyard as well. With the amount of scrying at your disposal, this card can be a bit anti-synergistic. You also don't have a reliable way to get those newly libraried cards into your hand. Lorien Revealed is the sorcery spell getting removed. 3 cards for 3 and 2 blue is fine, but with a 2-color deck, you're probably not going to be super interested in island cycling if you don't have a breeding pool or tropical island. Without both abilities being good options, this spell loses its muster. And the creature hitting the bench is the Colossal Whale. There's a lot to like about this card. The Island Walk is nice evasion, and you can temporarily remove enemy creatures when attacking. But if you proverbially swing with this creature and miss, you're not just out 7 mana for that lackluster stat line, your enemy gets all their exiled creatures back. Granted, you made successful attacks with the creature, and then you're in even more trouble. 6 cards in and 6 cards out, with a total upgrade cost coming in at $13.54. Please subscribe to the channel and check out the other budget upgrades for the Tales of Middle-earth Commander precons, and be on the lookout for some more Lord of the Ring Commander builds featuring the other commanders in these precons, each built with a funky twist.